What if I told you that making someone obsessed with you isn't about luck? It's about psychology. Obsession follows a pattern, a formula, a series of psychological triggers that, when activated, make someone unable to stop thinking about you. They replay your words. They overanalyze your silence. They crave your presence, even when you're not there. And the strangest part? They won't even realize why. Why? Because the human mind is predictable. It fixates on what it can't fully understand, what it fears losing, and what gives it emotional highs and lows. Think about it. What's more exciting? Something you know you can have at any time, or something that feels just out of reach? That's why the people we can't figure out are the ones we obsess over the most. And when you know how to control these patterns, you control their mind. This isn't about manipulation. This is about understanding how people work, so you never chase, never beg, and never struggle for attention again. Because when you understand the psychology of obsession, people don't just want you, they need you. Today, you're going to learn how to become unforgettable, irreplaceable, and impossible to ignore. Now ask yourself, are you ready to take control? Subscribe now, and let's begin. Obsession isn't about love, it's about uncertainty. Think about it. What makes a person crave something? It's never the things they can have easily. It's what feels just out of reach. The unanswered questions, the lingering mystery, the unpredictability. The human brain is wired to seek closure. We want answers. We crave predictability. But when someone disrupts that, when they leave gaps, when they create doubt, our mind locks onto them. That's why the most addictive people aren't the ones who are always available. They're the ones who give just enough, but never everything. They engage, then disappear. They create moments of deep connection, then pull back. They leave an emotional void, and that void forces people to chase. But why does this work? Because the fear of uncertainty is more powerful than the fear of rejection. When you know someone doesn't want you, your mind eventually moves on. But when you're not sure where you stand, when they give mixed signals, when their words and actions don't always align, your brain enters a loop. You start replaying conversations, analyzing their tone, looking for hidden meanings. And the more you analyze, the more emotionally invested you become. This is why relationships that have highs and lows create the strongest bonds. The emotional spikes trap the mind in a cycle of desire, anticipation, and obsession. And that's not a coincidence. It's dark psychology at work. Because once you understand what makes the human brain crave something, you can control it. The secret isn't to always be there. It's to create an emotional loop they can't escape. And this is where it begins, with rule number 1, the Intermittent Reinforcement Effect. Star. If you've ever played a slot machine, you know how this works. You don't win every time, but the possibility that the next pull might be the jackpot, that's what keeps you coming back. This is called intermittent reinforcement, a psychological trigger that creates addiction. And when applied to human relationships, it makes people obsessed. Most people think consistency is the key to keeping someone's attention. They respond instantly. They are always available. They assume that giving more will make them more desirable. But the truth is, predictability kills desire. Think about it. What happens when someone always responds the same way? When you always know what they're going to say or do, you stop thinking about them. But what happens when you disrupt that pattern? One day, you're fully engaged, giving them the emotional high they crave. The next, you pull away, leaving them questioning everything. And that uncertainty, it forces their mind to focus on you, to analyze your behavior, to crave the next reward. And this is the secret behind every addictive relationship. People don't become obsessed with what they already have. They become obsessed with what they can't fully control. This is why some of the most intoxicating relationships are filled with emotional ups and downs. The brain gets hooked on the anticipation, the thrill, the unpredictability. But here's the key. Timing is everything. Pull away too soon? You push them away before the attachment forms. Give too much too fast. You lose control and they take you for granted. The secret is knowing when to engage and when to withdraw, to maximize desire, create emotional dependency, and make yourself irreplaceable. And once you understand this, the next step is learning how to create dopamine loops, the same psychological triggers that make people addicted to social media, gambling, and you. Because obsession doesn't come from attraction, it comes from emotional conditioning. And that's what we unlock in rule number 2. Why do people keep refreshing their phones? Why do social media apps make billions? Because they've mastered the dopamine loop, a psychological cycle that keeps people addicted, craving, and unable to walk away. Dopamine is the brain's reward chemical. It fuels desire, excitement, and obsession. It's the reason people keep chasing what gives them emotional highs. And if you understand how to trigger dopamine at the right moments, you can make someone think about you non-stop. But here's the secret. Dopamine doesn't spike when people get exactly what they expect. It spikes when something is unpredictable. A message out of nowhere. A deep emotional conversation, followed by silence. A moment of connection, then distance. It's the unpredictability that keeps the brain addicted. Their brain seeks patterns, and when those patterns keep shifting, their mind locks onto the one thing it can't predict: you. And once that happens, they're hooked. This is how every addiction works. Slot machines keep players spinning because they never know when they'll win. Social media notifications appear at random intervals to keep users checking their phones. Toxic relationships create emotional highs and lows that make people unable to leave. They all use dopamine cycles to make you chase. And here's the key: never let them fully win. If they feel like they completely have you, the dopamine cycle breaks. The craving stops. The addiction fades. But if you create emotional highs and lows, if they can never fully grasp where they stand with you, their brain keeps chasing the next reward. This is why relationships built on emotional unpredictability are the hardest to escape. The brain becomes wired to seek closure, validation, and the next high. It's why people can't let go of the ones who make them feel uncertain. Now, imagine applying this in a way that makes you completely irreplaceable. And that brings us to the next step: leveraging the scarcity principle to amplify their desire beyond control. Because when something becomes rare, its value skyrockets. People don't value what they have unlimited access to. They crave what they might lose. Think about it. What makes diamonds valuable? It's not just their beauty, it's their scarcity. The harder something is to obtain, the more people want it. And the same rule applies to you. This is why luxury brands don't beg for attention. They don't flood the market. Instead, they create exclusivity. They make people work for it. If you want people to crave your presence, you need to apply the same concept. Stop being always available. Stop replying instantly. Stop making your presence expected. Because the moment they feel your absence, they start craving your presence. This is called tactical withdrawal, the art of stepping back at the right moments to create desire. It's not about ghosting. It's not about playing games. It's about positioning yourself so that your presence becomes valuable. Give them an emotional high, then disappear. Be present, then unavailable. Show interest, then pull back. And when done right, they start chasing you. But here's where most people go wrong. They disappear for too long. Instead of creating scarcity, they make people move on. They don't establish value first. If you withdraw before creating an emotional connection, you're just forgettable. They overuse this technique. If you're always absent, you lose influence instead of gaining it. The right way to apply it? Balance. You give just enough presence to create an emotional high, then step back before they take you for granted. Because scarcity creates demand, and demand creates obsession. But what happens when they try to resist? When they pull away, act indifferent, or try to make you chase them instead? That's when you apply rule number 4, the power of unreadability. Because when people can't figure you out, they chase even harder. The most powerful people are the hardest to read. Because when someone can't predict you, they can't control you. Think about the most captivating individuals you've ever met. Were they the ones who revealed everything up front? Or were they the ones who made you wonder? Mystery is magnetic. It creates uncertainty. And uncertainty, it forces people to keep thinking about you. Most people reveal too much. They explain themselves. They over-communicate. But the smartest move, say less. Let them wonder. Be warm sometimes. Be distant at others. Engage, then disappear. If they expect you to always be available, step back. If they assume you'll always agree, challenge them. If they think they've figured you out, change the pattern. Because unpredictability is power. It forces them to analyze your every move. It makes them second-guess their assumptions. And the more they wonder about you, the more they obsess over you. This is why people can't let go of the ones they can't fully understand. It's not love. It's not even attraction. It's psychological fixation. But knowing how to trigger obsession isn't enough. If you truly want control, you must take it one step further. Because when someone's emotions are tied to you, when their highs and lows are dictated by your presence, they don't just want you, they need you. And that's where everything comes together. The emotional addiction formula. Star. Emotions create attachment. And if you control how someone feels, you control how they think about you. This is why the most addictive relationships are never just stable. They are emotional roller coasters, highs and lows, passion and mystery, love and distance. And this is why people can't walk away from toxic relationships. Their brain isn't addicted to the person, it's addicted to the emotional spikes, the uncertainty, the unpredictability, the rush of dopamine every time they get validation, followed by the withdrawal when it disappears. But here's the secret. You can create that effect without toxicity. It's not about playing games. It's about understanding human psychology. Make them feel something intense, a deep emotional connection, a moment of passion, a feeling they can't find anywhere else. Then withdraw. Let them process. Let them crave the next high. Then return, just enough to keep them emotionally invested. This cycle conditions their mind to associate you with strong emotions, making you unforgettable. Because the brain doesn't attach to people, it attaches to feelings. And when you become the source of their most intense emotions, they don't just want you, they need you. And once someone needs you, you own their mind. Obsession isn't luck, it's a science. And when you master these 5 rules, you don't chase attention, you command it. You become the person they can't stop thinking about. The one who creates an emotional imprint so strong, they don't just want you, they need you. This isn't about manipulation. This is about understanding human nature. Because in a world where most people give away their power, Those who know how to trigger obsession control the game. Now, ask yourself, which of these strategies will you apply first? Will you use intermittent reinforcement to make them crave your attention? Will you tap into dopamine loops to create a cycle they can't escape? Or will you master the power of unreadability, keeping them hooked by always keeping them guessing? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Let's see who's truly ready to take control. And if you're serious about mastering influence, attraction, and mind control, subscribe now. Because in the game of power, there are only two types of people: those who influence and those who are influenced. The only question is, which one will you be? Star.